This is the car James Bond actually drove. Not the Aston Martin, not the Lotus. This beast right here, the 1973 Jensen Interceptor. And yet, most people have never even heard of it. British elegance wrapped around American muscle. A 440 cubic inch Chrysler V8 stuffed into a hand-built Italian-designed body. This thing was doing 130 miles per hour when most British cars were still figuring out how to start in the rain. Today, I'm breaking down why the Jensen Interceptor is the most underrated legend of the 70s, what made James Bond choose it, and whether you should actually buy one. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about what Jensen actually was. Because this wasn't some mainstream manufacturer. Jensen Motors was a small British coach builder based in West Bromwich. While Jaguar and Aston Martin were building thousands of cars, Jensen was handcrafting maybe 500 a year. These were boutique, special-order machines for people who wanted something nobody else had. Here's where it gets interesting. In 1966, Jensen did something absolutely genius. Or completely insane, depending on who you ask. They took a Chrysler 383 V8 pure American muscle and dropped it into a sleek Italian body designed by Carrozzeria Touring. Why? Because British engines in the 60s were, let's be honest, struggling, unreliable, underpowered. The Chrysler V8 was bulletproof, cheap to fix, and made serious power. The Interceptor immediately became the fastest four-seater in Britain. BBR by 1971, they upgraded to the 440 cubic inch version. That's 7.2 liters for you metric folks. We're talking 385 horsepower in a car that weighed less than 3,500 pounds. 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. In 1973, that's Porsche 911 territory. But here's what really made it special. This wasn't just a straight-line monster. It had Italian style, British craftsmanship, and American reliability. The perfect transatlantic hybrid that somehow worked when it shouldn't have. Now let's talk about 7. In the 1971 TV series The Persuaders, Roger Moore, yes, the future James Bond, drove a bright yellow Jensen Interceptor. But the real Bond connection came later. The Interceptor appeared in multiple Bond-adjacent productions, and here's why that matters. This was the car for sophisticated speed. Not flashy like a Ferrari, not obvious like a Corvette. This was the thinking man's muscle car. Bond's whole vibe is understated lethality, right? Tuxedo that hides the gun, charm that hides the killer. The Jensen Interceptor is exactly that philosophy on 4 wheels. Look at this interior, Connolly leather, walnut trim, air conditioning, rare for a British car in '73. Power windows. This thing had luxury features Italian exotics couldn't even offer. But pop the hood and it's all American violence. That Chrysler V8 sounds like freedom and smells like high-octane rebellion. Here's something crazy. Jensen only made about 6,400 Interceptors total, ever, across all years. For comparison, Porsche makes that many 911s in like 3 weeks. No, you're looking at one of the rarest GTs ever built. This wasn't a car you saw on every corner. This was exclusive without trying to be. No waiting lists, no celebrity endorsements, just pure limited production reality. So why specifically talk about the 1973 model? Because this was peak Interceptor. By '73, Jensen had worked out most of the early bugs. The Mk3 version got better brakes, improved cooling, upgraded interior. This was the refined version. You got the big 440 V8 as standard. The iconic wraparound rear window, one massive piece of curved glass that made this car instantly recognizable. And that aggressive stance with those chrome bumpers. But here's the tragedy. 1973 was also the beginning of the end. The oil crisis hit that same year. Insurance companies started crushing high-performance cars with premiums. Jensen was a tiny company with no financial buffer. They tried to pivot, even made the Jensen Healey sports car, but it was too late. By 1976, Jensen Motors was done. Bankrupt. Gone. which means every Interceptor you see today is a survivor. These weren't garage queens. People actually drove them hard. Finding a clean one is like finding a unicorn wearing a tuxedo. The 1973 model represents that perfect storm of everything coming together right before it all fell apart. The engineering was sorted, the looks were timeless, the performance was undeniable, but the world around it was changing faster than a small British manufacturer could adapt. That's what makes these cars so special now. They're frozen in time at their absolute peak. So here's my take on the Jensen Interceptor. This is a car that tried to have it all. British class, Italian beauty, American power. And somehow, against all odds, it actually pulled it off. It was too ambitious, too niche, too expensive to survive. But that's exactly what makes it legendary. The best cars aren't always the ones that sold millions. Sometimes they're the ones that burned bright and disappeared, leaving behind a legacy that only gets stronger with time. Dr. Should you buy one? If you can find a good 1973 model, absolutely. Values are climbing, but they're still way cheaper than comparable Aston Martins or Ferraris. You get a proper V8 that you can actually fix without selling a kidney for parts. Just know what you're getting into. These are hand-built classics that need love, attention, and a good mechanic who understands old-school American V8s. But if you want something that turns heads, starts conversations, and has a story worth telling, the Jensen Interceptor delivers all of that and more. Dr. What do you think? Is the Jensen Interceptor the most underrated classic of the 70s? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to see more forgotten legends like this, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.